Are you tired of paying collector prices for average whiskey while the real gems sit ignored on the shelf? The whiskey world in 2024 has gone completely insane. Grown adults are hunting horse stoppers like Pokemon cards, while $30 bottles consistently outperform $200 allocated releases in blind tastings. Today, we're ranking the 12 worst values in premium whiskey, building up to the most shocking waste of money. This might be the most controversial whiskey video ever made. Let's begin our examination with bottles that represent common value disconnects, where the marketing story doesn't quite match the liquid reality. Number 12. Hudson Bright Lights, the Craft Premium Puzzle. Hudson Bright Lights carries an impressive story. New York's first legal distillery since Prohibition, craft heritage, local pride. At $45, it positions itself as premium American whiskey worth supporting. Here's what I discovered when I analyzed the specs. It's a 95% corn, 5% malted barley mash bill, aged just 3 years, bottled at 92 proof. The high corn content creates what the industry politely calls a grain-forward profile. Essentially, it tastes predominantly like corn. The challenge becomes apparent when you consider the competition at $45. You're in the same price range as Elijah Craig and Old Forester 1910. Proven Kentucky expressions with deeper aging and more complex profiles. The 3-year age statement simply can't overcome the grain harshness that more mature whiskeys have learned to integrate. For context, if you want a corn-heavy profile that actually works, Mellow Corn, a bottled-in bond corn whiskey, costs $15, and many consider it a more honest expression of the style. But if you think $45 for young corn whiskey raises questions, wait until you see what number 11 is charging for a 3-year-old bourbon that's been through Texas heat treatment. Number 11. Garrison Brothers, the Climate Acceleration Premium. Garrison Brothers deserves respect as Texas whiskey pioneers. Their story is compelling. First legal distillery in the state. Wheated mash bill using food-grade corn with higher sugar content, and that famous Texas heat creating accelerated aging. The technical claims have merit. In Shee, Texas, temperatures reach 100 degrees for 9 months yearly, causing whiskey to expand and contract into the wood more aggressively than Kentucky's climate. This creates what they call hyper-aged bourbon with intense wood interaction. The sensory experience is undeniably bold. Saddle leather, fresh-cut grass, and golden delicious apples on the nose, with a thick, barnyard-heavy palate featuring butterscotch, espresso, and intense woodiness. It's what I'd call hot and loud, a one-note punch that can overwhelm palates accustomed to Kentucky's balanced profiles. Here's where the value question emerges. At $75 to $85, you're paying premium prices for 3 to 5-year-old whiskey. While the Texas climate does accelerate extraction, you can purchase some of the finest 12-year-old bourbons in the world for $80. Comment below if you've tried Garrison Brothers. Did you think the Texas heat justified the premium pricing? I'm curious about your experiences. 10. Widow Jane, 10-year. The Urban Craft Premium. Widow Jane represents the urban craft movement beautifully. Red Hook, Brooklyn location, limestone filtered water from the historic Widow Jane mines, sophisticated packaging that speaks to city sophistication. The reality behind the marketing reveals a common industry practice. Widow Jane operates as a non-distilling producer, NDP. The liquid in their 10-year bottle is produced in Kentucky, sourced from MGP or Dickel, then transported to New York for proofing and bottling at 91 proof. The whiskey itself offers a classic bourbon profile: corn, oak, vanilla, and light apple notes on the nose, with a sweet, easy-sipping palate featuring orange and cherry. However, many bottles finish with what critics describe as a strange astringent or soap-like note that lingers unpleasantly. At $75, the value comparison becomes stark. Henry McKenna, 10-year single barrel, a Kentucky distilled bottled-in bond product, historically retailed for $35. You're essentially paying a $40 premium for the Brooklyn story and specialized water treatment. But Geographic's storytelling is just the beginning. Number 9 is about to show you how port wine finishing can completely overwhelm bourbon character. Number 9. Angel's Envy, the port finishing experiment. Angel's Envy holds an important place in American whiskey history. Founded by Lincoln Henderson, the master distiller behind Woodford Reserve, it introduced secondary finishing to mainstream bourbon. The port cask finishing process sounds sophisticated and innovative. The technical approach involves finishing bourbon in ruby port casks for 3 to 6 months. The mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley, bottled at 86.6 proof. The concept is that port barrels will add complexity and dark fruit notes to enhance the bourbon experience. In practice, what often happens is that the relatively young base bourbon at moderate proof gets dominated by the aggressive port flavors. Rather than complementing the whiskey, the port tends to bully it, resulting in a profile that feels more like wine-flavored spirit than complex bourbon. The nose delivers red berries and chocolate-dipped raisins. Quite appealing. The palate is thin and light, dominated by cherry juice with just a whisper of rye spice. For newcomers to whiskey, this sweetness and lack of ethanol burn feels welcoming. However, for developed palates, it often registers as watered down and astringent. But the next whiskey involves a more subtle deception: Canadian whiskey masquerading as Vermont craft. 8. Whistle Pig 10-year, the sourcing story. Whistle Pig pioneered the premium rye movement in America, and their Vermont farm imagery creates a compelling craft narrative. The 10-year flagship represents serious rye whiskey. 100% rye mash bill, decade of aging, bottled at 100 proof. Here's what surprised me when I researched their sourcing. Historically, this liquid was sourced entirely from Alberta Premium in Canada, with recent batches including MGP from Indiana and some Vermont distillate. The farm-to-bottle imagery doesn't quite match the industrial sourcing reality. The whiskey itself is genuinely distinctive. Because it's 100% rye, it avoids the bourbon-adjacent sweetness of many ryes. The nose is heavy on orange peel, anise, and cedar. The palate delivers an explosion of butterscotch and cinnamon, followed by a wasabi-like nostril tickle. The finish is long and minty with a very distinctive cooling effect. The value question emerges at the $85 to $100 MSRP. Alberta Premium, the source of much of this liquid, released their own cask-strength rye for $70, higher proof and significantly cheaper. You're paying a substantial premium for Vermont branding of Canadian whiskey. If you're learning about sourcing transparency for the first time, make sure you're subscribed. We dive deep into these industry practices every week. And ring that notification bell so you never miss our whiskey myth-busting content. 7. Willet Pot Still, the Design Award winner. Willet Pot Still deserves recognition for its stunning bottle design, shaped like a miniature copper pot still. Winner of multiple design awards, absolutely gorgeous on any shelf. It's genuinely a work of art that happens to contain whiskey. The irony becomes apparent when you learn that despite the pot still bottle shape, the bourbon is actually produced in a column still. The packaging creates thematic expectations that the production method doesn't fulfill. This bourbon has become famous for what enthusiasts call the Willet Funk, a distinctive yeast-driven profile that generates polarized reactions. Some describe it as floral and rose petals, while others characterize it as damp attic or wet wood. The tasting experience offers cola and orange peel on the nose, quite promising. The palate delivers sweet corn and honey, acceptable territory. Then comes what many describe as a weird wood note reminiscent of particle board or balsa wood, which tends to dominate the finish. At $57 to $60, you're competing with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or Wild Turkey Rare Breed, whiskeys that offer significantly more complexity and proof. Beautiful packaging can distract from liquid quality, but the next whiskey takes this concept to oceanic proportions. Number 6. Jefferson's Ocean, the maritime aging experiment. Jefferson's Ocean represents one of the most creative aging experiments in American whiskey. The concept involves loading bourbon barrels onto ships for global voyages, visiting dozens of ports, and crossing the equator multiple times. They claim the constant motion, humidity, and salty air create unique hyper-aging effects. The technical theory has scientific merit. Barrel sloshing could increase liquid wood contact, potentially extracting more sugars and vanillins in shorter time frames. However, this process also exposes whiskey to extreme temperature fluctuations that can lead to over-oaking or unbalanced profiles. Many reviewers report a distinct salty or briny finish they attribute to sea air influence. Other common notes include creme brulee, sweet tobacco, espresso, and dark chocolate. The maritime influence creates genuinely unique flavor profiles that vary significantly between numbered voyages. The value consideration becomes apparent at $80 to $100 pricing. You're essentially paying for the barrel's shipping costs and hoping the weather conditions were favorable during the voyage. The underlying bourbon is often quite young, 4 to 6 years, and sourced from undisclosed producers. Creative aging experiments are fascinating, but number 5 shows what happens when world's most admired meets questionable value. Number 5. Michter's US 1, the Admiration Premium. Michter's carries an impressive Renaissance story, originally from Pennsylvania, resurrected in Kentucky, and named World's Most Admired Whiskey in 2024. Their reputation among bartenders and enthusiasts is genuinely strong, built on attention to detail and quality obsession. They use an expensive, low-entry proof approach at 103 proof for their barrels, which creates more wood-to-spirit interaction but yields fewer bottles per barrel. The US 1 small batch is bottled at an unusual 45.7% ABV and filtered through their proprietary process. The sensory experience is quite pleasant, what I'd call dessert bourbon. The nose offers surprising fruitiness with blackberry jam and sour cherries. The palate is silky, featuring Werther's Originals caramel and candied apple. It's mellow, approachable, and very drinkable. The challenge emerges at the $50 price point. While the whiskey is certainly well made, you can identify many equally fine bourbons for under $40. The entry-level US 1 often feels like a gateway to their superior 10-year and 20-year expressions, rather than a destination in itself. And now we're about to enter the really controversial territory with our top 4. Number 4. The Dalmore 12, the Highland Luxury Question. The Dalmore represents quintessential Highland luxury, elegant stag-head emblem, Richard Patterson's legendary reputation as the Nose, association with high-end lifestyle, and meticulous sherry cask sourcing from Jerez, Spain. Here's what I discovered when I analyzed the technical specifications. The Dalmore 12 suffers from what I call a triple challenge. First, it's bottled at 40% ABV, the legal minimum that strips away natural oils. Second, it undergoes chill filtration, removing fatty acids to prevent cloudiness but further thinning the mouthfeel. Third, it includes added caramel coloring, E150A, to achieve that dark, premium appearance that natural maturation didn't provide. The tasting experience starts promisingly. The nose offers thick notes of chocolate-covered oranges, raisins, and roasted coffee. This sherry bomb aroma is genuinely appealing and hooks many newcomers. However, The palate often disappoints with thin, watery character that tastes like buttered toast and boiled sweets, finishing short with bitter tannins. At $70 to $75, it's among the most expensive 12-year-old malts available. The value comparison becomes stark when you consider alternatives like Bunnahabhain 12 at 46.3%, ABV non-chill filtered with natural color for $60 to $65. Highland luxury pricing raises questions, but the next whiskey takes luxury pricing to an entirely different level. Number 3. Macallan 12, Sherry Oak, the luxury brand premium. Here we enter truly controversial territory. The Macallan 12. Sherry Oak represents one of the most recognizable names in Scotch whiskey, often marketed alongside luxury watches and high-end collectibles, built on curiously small stills and meticulous sherry-seasoned oak cask sourcing. The Macallan 12 functions as what economists call a gateway whiskey. It's incredibly smooth, offering classic Speyside notes of dried fruits, vanilla, and Christmas cake spices. The European oak provides rich wood spice that's well-balanced and appealing to newcomers. However, critics have noted that recent bottlings taste more grassy and rubbery than the legendary expressions from the 1990s. You're paying $80 to $100 for what has become one of the most expensive 12-year-old malts on the market, bottled at just 43% ABV. This represents what economists call a Veblen good, a product where demand actually increases with price because higher cost signals prestige and quality. You're paying a substantial premium for the Macallan name rather than superior liquid. The market offers compelling alternatives. Glendronach 12 provides non-chill filtered dual cask maturation that's significantly more expressive for $60. Tamdhu 12 offers 100% sherry maturation with more robust character for $65. I know criticizing Macallan is controversial in the whiskey world. If you think I'm wrong about this analysis, defend Macallan in the comments. I love respectful debate about whiskey value. Number 2. Basil Hayden, the minimum proof premium. We're approaching the most surprising entry on our list. Basil Hayden often represents someone's first premium bourbon purchase. Elegant packaging with that distinctive paper bib label. Jim Beam heritage. Sophisticated marketing as light-bodied and refined. Here's what I discovered that changed my perspective. Basil Hayden is bottled at 80 proof, 40% ABV, which is the absolute legal minimum for bourbon. When you're paying $45 to $50 for premium bourbon, you're essentially paying a premium for water dilution. The technical reality becomes clear when you learn that Basil Hayden uses the identical mash bill as Old Granddad. Same recipe, same distillery, same aging process. The difference? Old Granddad 114 is bottled at 114 proof and costs $25 to $30. You're paying an extra $20 for the privilege of drinking bourbon that's been diluted to legal minimum strength. The tasting experience reflects this dilution. While the nose offers pleasant peaches, orange zest, and white pepper, the palate consistently disappoints with watery, thin character. The high rye content should provide spice, but at 80 proof, that character is completely muted. The finish disappears almost immediately. If paying $25 extra for water seems problematic, Number 1 is about to challenge the most sacred assumption in American whiskey collecting. Number 1. Blanton's, the collectible paradox. Here we reach the most controversial selection. I know this is going to upset some collectors, but hear me out. Blanton's original single barrel holds an undeniable place in whiskey history. Launched in 1984 as the first commercial single barrel bourbon, created by master distiller Elmer T. Lee as tribute to Colonel Albert B. Blanton. Those 8 different horse and jockey stoppers have created a fascinating phenomenon, turning a standard bourbon into a collectible hunt that transforms adults into treasure seekers. The marketing concept is genuinely brilliant. Let me share what surprised me most about Blanton's. It's produced at Buffalo Trace using mash bill number 2. Aged in the metal-clad warehouse H, which does create interesting heat dynamics. However, it's bottled at 93 proof and chill-filtered, removing many fatty acids and esters that contribute to mouthfeel and complexity. The tasting experience is genuinely pleasant. Honey, light citrus, and vanilla on the nose, with burnt sugar, nutmeg, and faint clove on the palate. The finish is short to medium with that smoothness that casual drinkers appreciate. At 93 proof, it's very approachable. Here's the value revelation that changed my perspective. While Blanton's MSRP is approximately $60, it's nearly impossible to find for less than $150 on secondary markets. At $150, you're paying $90 for marketing and collectability, $60 for the actual liquid. The irony becomes apparent when you consider that Buffalo Trace produces this alongside Eagle Rare, E.H. Taylor, and Weller. In blind tastings, Blanton's often scores lower than its distillery siblings. While it won double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition in 2023, the secondary market pricing has disconnected from liquid quality. John J. Bowman's Single Barrel uses the same Buffalo Trace distillate, but ages it in Virginia and bottles it at 100 proof. It's regionally available at retail pricing and offers significantly more robust character than Blanton's at secondary market prices. What Blanton's represents is the triumph of collectability over quality, marketing over substance. Those horse stoppers have created a scavenger hunt that makes the bourbon secondary to the chase itself. From Hudson's Craft Premium at number 12 to Blanton's Collectible Phenomenon at number 1, each bottle represents the same fundamental challenge: distinguishing between what you're paying for and what you're actually receiving in the glass. The whiskey world continues evolving, with new brands, innovative techniques, and countless ways to spend your money. But here's what I've learned. Once you understand the difference between marketing and quality, you can't be misled. Don't let collectible stoppers and sea voyages distract you from finding genuine value on the shelf. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because next week we're revealing the 12 bottles that are actually worth every penny, including some shelf bottles that outperform $200 allocated releases. You won't want to miss number 4. Cheers.